cash match. It's kind of a bigger, beefed up program than what I'm doing right now. It's going to be more comprehensive, sampling, focusing on stream, lake level, precipitation monitoring, and then there's going to be a bigger element of public education where we're going to look at behavior in the watershed, do some surveys, do some outreach, and things like that. So we're meeting with Ecology tomorrow. It sounds promising, but I don't know exactly if we're going to get it yet until tomorrow. So that's all I have.
Thank you. It's on my audio. Yeah. Coffee and water in the back. No, it's in that same slope. Oh, that's,
Okay, my name is Doug Dorling, and I represent Northwest Aquatic Ecosystems. We are a lake management firm. We've been involved with these type of projects since 1980 in Washington State. The majority of our work is done on this side of the mountain, so we're pretty familiar with most of the lake projects that happen on the west side of the mountains. Before I get into the presentation, there are just two things I want to address from some of the presentations that were just made. There was a question asked about the FOSDOC treatments in Washington State. There were two other FOSDOC treatments performed in Washington State. They weren't permitted, so that's why John Jennings from the Department of Ecology didn't realize them, because they weren't covered under the NPS permit. They weren't required to be covered. They were applied in some caves out in Clean Elm. And then there was a mention of geese and nutrients. Geese populations. 3 geese are equal to one human person. So you have 3 geese pooping on your public park, it's just like one person pooping in your lake every day. So that's the nutrient.
Is that to suggest that the geese population could be the culprit?
Could be, I'm just giving you some facts. I don't know how many geese are out there, I don't have the slightest idea. I don't know when they're out there, it's just some information. Next slide. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to just basically go over, I'm going to get a little more heavily into the past history of Lake Lorraine, why certain things were done the way they were done, and what we're going to try and do in the future. All right, so we're going to start with the Herrera report, which was done back in 2003. Pretty comprehensive report, pretty basic report for a lake of the size of Lake Lorraine. It's pretty similar to other reports that are generated on lakes of that size. Within the Herrera report, they really base a lot of their information on lake nutrients, oxygen, and sediments. They also do a little bit of talk about chemical control, and this FOSDOC should be alum. They talk about alum treatments to Lake Lorraine. And when we start talking about lake nutrients, the Herrera report goes into 2 types of nutrients. They discuss in-lake nutrients and external nutrients, such as the nutrients from Joe's Creek. The Herrera report didn't do any data evaluation for Joe's Creek. All they did is they looked at the internal nutrients in the lake itself. They also did dissolved oxygen within the lake itself. And what they do is they go out and take a water sample and they'll test. They'll have a piece of equipment, they drop it down into the water, and they can determine what the oxygen level is in various portions of the lake. As a result of the 2003 Herrera study, Herrera determined that there was a problem with the dissolved oxygen level in the lower part of the lake. And because of that low dissolved oxygen level, they determined that some of the problems on Lake Lorraine were generated from nutrients recirculating through the bottom sediments. One of their controls was to apply alum, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Next slide. We're going to go a little bit of very quick lake ecology, specifically directed at Lake Lorraine. The Herrera report noted that there was a thermocline in Lake Lorraine. Most lakes, there are three type water body types. There's an upper layer of water, which is the warm water. There's a cold layer down here, and then there's a small area of water in between, which is called a thermocline. And basically what this thermocline does is it divides upper water, warm water, from the cold water. If there's a thermocline in the lake, any of the nutrients that are in the cold water are not able to recirculate back to the other part of the lake. So during the summer, if there's nutrient releasing occurring down the bottom water level, those nutrients build up, and when the lake turns over in the fall time, all those nutrients are transported back into the water column.
Are the nutrients good?
No. Now, one of the recommendations in the Herrera report to eliminate this thermocline or to reduce the low dissolved oxygen level in the bottom of the lake was they recommended some type of aeration system. Now, there's two types of aeration systems. One is the aeration system that was installed in Lake Lorraine, which is basically a circulatory type of aeration system. And there's a lot of misconceptions about this type of bubbler system. A lot of people think that, when they see the bubbles in the lake, it's the bubbles that are actually putting the oxygen in the lake. That's not true at all. The philosophy behind the aeration system in Lake Lorraine is that what you're doing is you're circulating the water. You're taking the bottom water, you're circulating it up to the surface. When that water hits the surface, it comes in contact with the wind, the atmosphere, it oxygenates itself, and it sinks back down to the bottom of the lake. The bubbles really do not put any oxygen in the water. And in fact, you could put those aerators down 30 feet, and you're still not, the amount of oxygen they put in the water is going to be probably less than 1%. The other type of aeration system that Herrera recommended was an aeration system whereby you take the cold water down the bottom, you bring it up to the surface, you oxygenate it, but then you return the cold water back down to the bottom of the lake. So what does this do? It leaves the thermocline in place, but it provides enough oxygen in the bottom of the lake so you don't get nutrients released back up through the bottom of the sediments. Also in the Herrera report, one of the main statements they said in the report is that before any type of nutrient inactivation material was applied to the lake, that you needed to do a nutrient budget of the lake, which basically determines where all the nutrients are going, or where they're coming from, if an alum treatment or a phosphate treatment would work. Okay, next slide. So here's the Lake Lorraine aeration system. There's one to the north, there's 6 diffusers in the lake. And since these were put in 2006, there really has been no data established to determine if these aerators are working or not. I mean, you go out to the lake and you see all these bubbly things going on, but nobody has determined if those bottom deep water levels of the lake are oxygenated, or if the thermocline is still in the lake. Now remember, the idea of the aerators were, number one, to remove the thermocline and to oxygenate the bottom of the lake. So it's possible these aerators may not be performing the way that they should be performing, and the bottom layers of the lake are still saturated with nutrient phosphorus. So what are we going to do about it? This year, what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to sample the lake with a deometer, and we're going to monitor the oxygen level from the surface all the way down to the bottom. And we'll see if there is oxygen down the bottom of the lake, and if there's a thermocline. If there is oxygen and there is no longer a thermocline, then that particular aeration system has been successful in the rain. The other thing we want to do is see if the placement of the diffusers are correct. When we surveyed this lake about 2 months ago, and this is the latest bathymetric map of the lake, we noticed there's a fairly deep hole in the deep part section of the lake. And we want to find out if one of those diffusers is in that deep hole. Because if it isn't in the deep hole, then you're missing the mixing of all that deep water in the lake itself.
Should aeration via this system be seasonal or should it be year-round?
Good question. Usually during the winter months, aeration isn't required, simply because there's not a great oxygen demand. Generally, aeration systems are turned on sometime in April, and they run through late fall. And it depends on